What's up, YouTube? Back at you with another video, another quick take. I got my main man, my partner, my brother here.
I'm back live in the flesh. Thanks for having me again, bro. Appreciate it.
Yes. So we've got an outrageous situation that I wanted to talk about. So we've got an article courtesy of New York Times, which says Sean Combs is accused by Cassie, who is his ex-girlfriend, of rape and years of abuse in lawsuit. It says, in the suit, the singer says Mr. Combs, known as Puff Daddy or Diddy, subjected her to a pattern of control and abuse over about a decade. Mr. Combs vehemently denied the allegations. It says, in this suit filed in federal district court in Manhattan, Cassie, whose real name is Cassandra Ventura, and who had long been Mr. Combs' romantic partner, says that not long after she met him in 2005, when she was 19, which is kind of a problem, but he began a pattern of control and abuse that included plying her or supplying her with drugs, beating her, and forcing her to have sex with a succession of male prostitutes, which is disgusting, while he filmed the encounters. In 2018, the suit says near the end of their relationship, Mr. Combs forced his way into her home and raped her. After years in silence and darkness, Ms. Ventura said in a statement, "I am finally ready to tell my story and to speak up on behalf of myself and for the benefit of other women who face violence and abuse in their relationships." It says, in response, a lawyer for Mr. Combs, Ben Braffman, said Mr. Combs vehemently denies these offensive and outrageous allegations. For the past 6 months, Mr. Combs had been subjected to Ms. Ventura's persistent demand of $30 million under the threat of writing a damaging book about their relationship, which was unequivocally rejected as blatant blackmail. Despite withdrawing her initial threat, Ms. Ventura has now resorted to filing a lawsuit riddled with baseless and outrageous lies, aiming to tarnish Mr. Combs' reputation and seeking a payday. It says, Ms. Ventura's case is the latest in a series of sexual assault civil suits filed recently against prominent men in the music industry, including Steven Tyler of Aerosmith, the executive L.A. Reid, and Neil Portnow, the former head of the organization behind the Grammy Awards. Mr. Combs, who in his career has variously been known as Puff Daddy, Diddy, and Love, which I think is corny, may be the most famous music executive of his generation. But the suit depicts Mr. Combs as a violent person who, beyond repeatedly assaulting Ms. Ventura, asked her to carry his gun in her purse, and the suit suggests he was responsible for blowing up the car of a rival suitor. In one incident, the suit says Mr. Combs dangled a friend of Ms. Ventura's over a 17th floor hotel balcony. I believe it. In naming additional defendants, the court papers assert that others who worked with Mr. Combs had helped him to control Ms. Ventura at times by threatening her with retribution, like suppressing her music if she did not obey his orders, or by helping to conceal his behavior. The suit, which names Mr. Combs and a number of his associated companies as defendants, seek unspecified damages. Now, this is kind of where this gets a little, nasty. So, y'all listening, bear with me. According to Ms. Ventura's suit, she was swept into Mr. Combs' jet-set lifestyle not long after meeting him and signing with Bad Boy, which released her debut album in 2006. See, that's where she went wrong, first of all. That's definitely where she went wrong. And if y'all see Making the Band, y'all know what I'm talking about. But anyway, it says the suit says he soon began to assert an extraordinary level of command over her life. In addition to controlling her career, he paid for her car, apartments, and clothing, and even had access to her personal medical records. According to the suit, the results from an MRI scan she had for memory loss, possibly caused by drug use or by a beating she had suffered from Mr. Combs, went directly to Mr. Combs. Wow. So basically, she didn't have an ounce of privacy. Wow. Mr. Combs also provided Ms. Ventura with copious amounts of drugs, including ecstasy and ketamine. I don't even know what ketamine is, and urged her to take them. The suit says, and often became violent, beating her multiple times each year. The suit says Ms. Ventura never went to the police because she feared it would merely give Mr. Combs another excuse to hurt her. I just feel bad for women who really live this type of life. That's no way to live. And in conclusion, I just want to get all the details out, and then we're gonna give our thoughts. So it says in one incident in in Los Angeles in 2009, the suit says Mr. Combs became enraged when he saw Miss Ventura talking to another talent agent, then pushed her into a car and kicked her repeatedly in the face, making her bleed. According to the suit, Mr. Combs then had his staff bring her to her hotel room to recuperate for a week. Nigga, I believe this shit, bro. Honestly, like, yeah. So she asked to go home to her parents, but Mr. Combs refused, the suit says. The suit says that after seeing the violent repercussions of rejecting Mr. Combs and the extent to which he would isolate her from her support network, Ms. Ventura felt that saying no to Mr. Combs would cost her something: her family, her friends, her career, or even her life. And though she tried to leave Mr. Combs, the suit says he sent his employees to lure her back. Wow. And I just, it's just crazy. In one incident described in the court papers, Ms. Ventura says, I'm just going to call her Cassie, okay? Cassie says that in early 2012, Mr. Combs, Diddy, all right, I'm just going to say Miss Diddy, okay? Because this Mr. and Ms. Ventura shit is bothering me. Diddy grew so angry about her dating the rapper Kid Cudi that he said he would blow up the rapper's car. Around that time, the suit says Kid Cudi's car exploded in his driveway, which honestly, he's got enough bread to do it. Kid Cudi confirmed Miss Ventura's account that he had a car that exploded. This is all true, he said. And I'm just gonna conclude on this nasty shit. So it says that a few years into Cassie's relationship with Diddy, the suit says he began coercing her to engage in a fantasy of his called voyeurism, and we all know what that is. And basically making her, have sex with succession with a slew of male prostitutes while he watched and, did nasty shit while watching. And just finally, because, I've seen it hurt enough, and that's just kind of what I wanted to read. So that way people listening can just get the full spectrum, or at least most of it, of why this is wild. And it says, according to the suit, Diddy called these encounters freak-offs, which involved costumes like masquerade masks and lingerie. They continued for years, taking place at high-end hotels across the United States and in Diddy's homes. The suit says that he instructed Cassie to search the website of escort services to procure male sex workers. Wow. Now, that was a lot. But anyway, bro, what do you make of this situation?
Bro, it's crazy. First of all, you may notice the lack of emotion in my voice. It's not because I don't care about this. I'm just not surprised. And this goes back to a conversation we actually had 2 days ago, talking about your favorite Lori Harvey. I remember I said something to you. So when you deal with people in the industry, this is what happens. And I don't know if you believe me when I said it, but I said sometimes when you have relationships with people of power in the entertainment industry, I don't care how much, I don't care if they broke up. Obviously, look at what he did with Kid Cudi. People use their power and influence to get what they want. And that's one of the reasons why I'm not shocked by this. The entertainment industry gets a bad rep, mostly the music industry, because this is the predatory behavior that we know and love. Now, this is not a way to say I think he's guilty, because technically he's innocent to proven guilty. But would I be surprised if he was found liable? No. This is stuff I've heard stories about him and other people, but mostly him, from male rappers and female rappers, about some of the parties that they go to, some of the things he asks them to do. He's a guy that has a lot of power, a lot of money. And before I go on, I want to say this, because I know somebody's going to say, well, for women or men in this position, you could have just said no. You could have, looked for another career. And we always hit. Yeah, it doesn't work like that. We always hear this narrative when it comes to people in the entertainment industry. And I'll say this, would you tell someone who studied or wanted to pursue a career in medicine, or being a lawyer or whatever, would you tell them to give up their pursuit of happiness? No. So I feel bad for her. I feel bad for a lot of women who have to go through this. I've heard horror stories. It happens all the time with women being used for sexual gratification in order to get advances in their career. And the problem, this is a multi-layered topic because there's so many things involved with this, not just with them, but in the entertainment industry. The lines get blurred so often. You have a lot of women who are known for, using their promiscuity to get what they want. And then you have people like Cassie, Cassie and others who didn't consent to that. But because the lines get blurred so often, and this industry is known for people using sexual advances to advance their careers, these lines get blurred, and that's going to be the biggest talking point when it comes to trial is, people going to look at her sexual history. Oh, why are you coming forward now? Maybe money's drying up for her, or, maybe she's mad because she want to get back with him. It's going to happen. We all know it's going to happen. But this is the thing I talk about when it comes to this line of work. Unfortunately, a lot of people, you got to pay to play. And sometimes, I'm not condoning it anyway. Like I said, I don't know if he's guilty or not. We're going to get into it. But I'm not surprised by none of this. It's stories I've heard before. It's not going to end with him. And, what do you think about this?
Yeah, man. My heart goes out to Cassie and a lot of women that are dealing with like that type of shit. And I say that from the standpoint of I grew up watching. Well, I would say I grew up watching it, but when I was very young when I saw What's Love Got to Do with It, and that's a movie that pretty much is like a good depiction of what she was going through with a high profile, individual. Now granted, I always respected Diddy just from the aspect of the fact that, he's a billionaire, he's got a lot of businesses, he's successful and all of that. But throughout the years, you start seeing and hearing things about him. And it's because of all those things that I've seen and heard in the last like 2 years that it kind of connects the dots to this shit. The way that he acts like around like certain people, like let's say like Fabulous, they had that interview, and then he was kind of like sexually harassing Fabulous, like, oh, so why you don't want to party with me no more? Why do you don't want to party with me no more? Or like freaking when he ran into Michael J. Ferguson last year on Halloween, and he was trying to say what's up to Michael, and Michael didn't know who he was. Then all of a sudden, Diddy just got into this whole freaking, temper tantrum, in the middle of the street, basically threatening this man's life just because he didn't know who he was, because he had on like this whole Joker costume. And when he was trying to hug, Michael J. Ferguson, Michael didn't know who he was. He was like, yo, fall back. And then Diddy was like, oh, so you don't know who I am? You want basically like, you want beef? Yo, I'll bust your shit. All of this stuff. And I was like, damn, this nigga's in his mid-50s acting like he's in his, early 20s type shit.
Right.
And then the fact that Aubrey and Dawn publicly came out and supported her. And mind you, these are two of Diddy's former artists who were on Bad Boy, and they were part of the group Danny Kane. And then they came up, making the band 3, making the band 4. So that was like the whole thing. So they were up close and personal to see how Diddy operates and how he deals with people. And these are two women that, I'm not sure about Dawn, but I know Aubrey does not have, good things to say. And I'm going to read her statements about him later. But basically, Diddy just has, a history, a well-documented history of treating people around him like dirt, particularly, women. You know what I'm saying? And I also want to say people who are skeptics about this shit and think that, oh, she's only doing this because she wants $30 million or she's extorting Diddy for money and blackmailing him. First of all, that's cap, because this is a woman who's moved on and is in a completely different relationship with, somebody else. All right. And it's been years. You know what I'm saying? Granted, if these are the things that you've been through, and if this is what you feel you need to do to get justice for that, then by all means do it. Like, honestly, like, hey, I support that at the end of the day, because as detailed as these things are, and I wasn't even sure, like I seen people, say, wow, I always knew Diddy was like this, this is disgusting, blah, blah, blah. I wanted to see for myself. And then once I read all of these details, I'm like, this sounds real. Like, this sounds real. This sounds like something that a billionaire would do, or a guy who has hundreds of millions of dollars would do at that level to women. Especially a guy who has no respect to women. What do you think he's going to do with money and power to her? Money and power to her. Like, we hear those stories of Instagram models getting flown out to Dubai to hang out with these, Arabs and shit like that. And then what do these guys do? Piss and shit on them and do a whole bunch of wild shit. And these guys are billionaires. So if that's what they're doing, why would I put that past Diddy to do the same? I wouldn't put it past this guy. So I just think it's very unfortunate. And I'm also going to say this too. This is something that I think one of my favorite YouTubers said maybe years ago. If not, I feel like I either heard it there or in a DJ Vlad interview. But what they said was, you get to a certain point where, let's say you're in Diddy's position, maybe a Chris Brown, maybe, Drake or somebody like these artists, whatever, that have had sex with probably like hundreds of freaking women and all of that. They probably, exercise every single fantasy that there is to have because they have access to, again, like insane amounts of women every single freaking day. And it gets to the point where just being with one girl or just doing it regular, that doesn't do it for them anymore. So then they got to start doing wild shit to try to get themselves off. And basically that's what's being described in this New York Times article. It's just been getting more and more and more extreme, giving her drugs and then making her, do a whole bunch of stuff with other freaking guys while you sitting there and watch it. Like, I've heard these things before. That's what I'm saying. I'm not surprised at that. And again, when you are worth $1 billion and you're rich and powerful, successful, you feel you're untouchable. And he kind of strikes me as that type of guy. Like, I always, like, even like, before today, I always kind of looked at him as like this freaking like mob boss of like, the entertainment industry. Like, he's just this dude that's got mad power. And if he wants to do some shit, he can pretty much do it. And what's stopping him? Because he's got millions of dollars to keep him out of harm's way legally. Right? Because when you go to court, it's all a matter of how much money you have that'll keep you from going to jail or not. If Diddy were to commit murder or some shit like that, do you really think he's going to jail with all the money that he's got?
Very little if he goes.
He could pay. He has enough money to pay for the top tier lawyers to find some kind of loophole that will keep him out of jail. Pretty much. He's got enough money to do it. And what is $30 million to Diddy anyway? In fact, I don't even think he would really trip over that. What he would really trip over is his public reputation, which, again, he's got enough money and power to make it so that way no one really cares about it. And I just think really just for somebody like Diddy, it's just, you got to watch how you treat people, man. Like, at the end of the day, like in closing, from my personal thoughts, you have to watch how you treat people no matter what level you reach in society, because if you treat somebody bad, it's always going to come back to bite you at some freaking point. Like what Diddy said, I mean, not what Diddy said, what Charlemagne said. Charlemagne says, whoever you treat bad, you're going to see them again. You're going to see them again. So it's like with your relationships with people, always stay solid. That's what I like to say. It's like, stay solid. So even if you go your separate ways with somebody else, that person will always say, he treated me with respect. He kept it real. He was authentic. He never treated me bad. So that way you don't have to worry about somebody spinning the block and wanting to pull a drive-by. You know what I'm saying? On your character or on you literally or legally. So that's just the lesson that I take from it, from me, which I already knew this anyway, but that was just my mentality, just in life, period, which is treat people the way that you want to be treated. And in relationships, it's just like, I just don't have any respect for guys who treat women like this. And again, I saw What's Love Got to Do with It. And if anybody's seen that movie, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I would never, ever, ever want to be that guy to another freaking woman. It's just disgusting. And if all of this is true, which again, my personal, perceptions, biases, lead me to believe that this is true, I hope Diddy will face some sort of consequences, because this is getting out of hand. And on top of that, I've already heard of like flavor camps that, Justin Bieber had to do and Usher had to do in order to get on. And, all, orchestrated by Diddy himself. So that's what I'm saying. So really, I think this should raise, a spotlight to what's really going on behind closed doors for a lot of these entertainers, Yep. And again, like where I think Cassie went wrong at was signing to Bad Boy in the first place, because we all know Bad Boy doesn't really do anything, for anyone, period. At least not long term. And then two, this dude was like her dad, pretty much, getting all her medical records, doing all of this shit. you know what I'm saying, for her. And then like in that relationship, she had no power or leverage to have a voice for herself. So no wonder this shit went on since what, 2005, they said, or some shit. She's been with him.
Yeah, something like that.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, let me say this because I don't want people. We're not saying P Diddy is guilty, right? But I want to say something. Prior to 2 days ago, I remember when we were talking about. I'm bringing it up again because some of the things I said to you is some of the things that can relate to this. I remember you saying, asking me, you was like, not just me, but most people, like when we talk about Lori Harvey fences, right? When people think of her as slut because we hear about the stories and stuff that she's, that's been painted in media. So we don't know her person, right? And I would say, to play devil's advocate, because again, he's innocent until proven guilty. And this is in no way saying she's lying or he's right and nothing like that. I'm not taking sides, but just to play devil's advocate, some people might say, P. Diddy has a reputation of being a dirty dog, right? And there's many weird, I wouldn't say weird, but there's many people on this planet that have those type of sexual fantasies, right? Or do this type of stuff, right? And here's the thing, I don't know what her state of mind was back then. And like I said, when you're a young artist trying to get your foot in the door, sometimes you will be a little naive and do things you don't think.
Do what you got to do. Do what you got to do.
Do what you got to do. But I'm looking at I watch Law and Order too much. I'll admit that. But I'll just basically seeing what's going to happen play out in court. One of the things they're going to say is, Casey, or Cassie rather. You saw these signs early on. Why did you continue to sign record deals and stay with him? Why did you decide to take those drugs?
Because he was whipping her ass. That's why. Because he was whooping her ass. He was physically intimidating her, sexually assaulting her, and beating her ass. And then when you got a guy that's got money like that, he could just pay somebody to do some shit to her, and then like his fingers will stay clean because he wasn't the one that actually did it himself.
Right, and you're right, but look what happened with Amber. But you're right, but look at what Amber Heard did. She changed the game because before that case with her and Johnny Depp, people would believe women on the get-go. Which, I'm not going to get into whether you should or not.
But was Johnny Depp all out here and stuff conducting himself the way that Diddy does? No, but you don't hear about Johnny Depp doing flavor camps with young actors in order for them to come up. You don't see you didn't see Johnny Depp freaking do interviews, telling you, yo, Percy, yo, why you don't want to party with me no more? Why you don't want to party with me no more? And like doing mad sus shit. Like again, and I'm saying I can admit that I don't know as much about the details of the Johnny Depp Amber Heard situation because we never actually talked about that. So maybe something I don't know, but I'm saying there's no comparison between Johnny Depp's character, the way that he conducts himself, and Diddy, because Diddy is the type of guy that does shit blatantly out and about, threatening actors because they didn't recognize him through their through his fucking costume and shit like that. So we gotta connect. We have to also connect the dots here. So yes, they can ask those questions, but there's obvious answers to those questions.
But but this is why I said the lines get blurred in the entertainment industry so much, especially the music industry, because on one hand, you have people like Cassie who come out and make these claims against him, and it could 100% be right. But when we look at the history of this business, we see it often and oftentimes. First of all, like I said, P. Diddy is only one of very many people who do this type of behavior. I ain't gonna judge because everybody have the thing that they like to do behind closed doors.
Yeah, but I am gonna judge, him beating the shit out of her, raping her, and then having his employees put her in a freaking 5-star, 6-star hotel for a week for her to recuperate. And then every time she wants to break up with him, he sends his employees over there just to bring her back. This shit, these things actually happen. Like, we have to call a spade a spade. This actually happens to girls all the time. They don't even have to be with a rich guy in order for it to be like that.
No, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying we got to be careful on how we phrase things, because until he's proven guilty, anybody, it's easy to look at P. Diddy because of his sexual preferences and the things he do to say he's guilty of all of this. But then again, like I said, in this line of work, these lines get blurred way too often, because there are women who will do all of this stuff, get mad, and then accuse them of all this stuff because the career didn't turn out the way they wanted. Look at James Franco, for instance, right? Just a side example. He was a guy who was sleeping with some of the actors in his class, and the girls were willing to do it. And then when they didn't get a role in one of his movies, what they did, they came out with a lawsuit, claiming all the stuff that they did to him. And I'm not. First of all, I'm not saying she's lying. I am not saying that. I just don't want to be. I don't want to rush a judgment because we don't know the true facts.
All right. Okay. So let's make a comparison to Jonathan Majors, right? Because I said the same thing. I said we don't know for sure, what, whether he's guilty or not, and
right.
You know what I'm saying. But because of my perceptions of him, I felt like he was innocent. And then look what happened, down the line. I was, at least partially right because they ended up arresting his ex-girlfriend for assault. And although they didn't dismiss it, but clearly that, this girl had her part to play in it. And again, that was based on my perceptions of him. Why? Because Jonathan Majors, I've never seen him conduct himself in that type of way. If I could, honestly, again, my respect for Diddy, if I could give him a bit of leeway, I would. But everything I've seen of this guy in the last 3 years leads me to believe, this shit is true. This shit is true.
Yeah, for me, see, this is different. Like, because originally I was going to compare it to Harvey Weinstein. The only difference with Harvey Weinstein and him was he has so many women coming out against him, and even men coming out against him. So I think with P. Diddy, again, she could be 100% right, and there are other women, which you said we'll get into, because I did hear some women supporting her. But again, maybe because of my experience, I remember when we was talking about Lori Harvey again, I'm bringing up, I was talking about LA, right? And I was talking about the atmosphere there. And when I lived there for 4 years, I would tell you, you would be surprised, or you wouldn't be surprised rather, but you would realize how, and this is not, I'm not condoning women at all, but a lot of people use their sexual aura or whatever to advance their careers. It happens all the time, and people do it all the time, sleeping with directors, sleeping with music producers, engineers and all that, just to get their name in the door. And that's why I said the lines get blurred, because I think P. Diddy, I do think he does things that are rather illegal, but I don't know what that is. And I'm just being careful because this is not a fresh thing, and then it just ended 2 weeks ago, and she have footage, and it could come out that she has a bunch of footage and pictures and stuff, and then hey, I'm glad she's suing, and I hope she wins. But I'm just saying, when these lines get blurred so often in this business, it's hard to say who's guilty and who's not, because for one thing, Cassie might be one of those people who didn't consent to any of this stuff. But then there's going to be other women who come out and say, yeah, I did this willingly. I knew what I was doing. I was trying to advance my career, and I knew P. Diddy or whatever can give me that head start.
Yeah, but that still doesn't give him license to do all that shit that he was doing to her.
I'm not saying because there's no evidence.
That's what I'm saying. Because that's not an excuse. That's not an excuse. Like with the Jonathan Majors thing, it's clear what happened, and we talked about that before. He was texting another girl. She found out about it. She attacked him. He did what he had to do to get away from her, and then there's literally street footage of her. Mind you, he's this crazy abuser, assault guy, but then he was trying to walk away from her, and then she's following him, and then trying to instigate two white boys on the street to try to get into it with him. That's what I'm saying. So we have receipts showing that, you know what I'm saying, he was innocent. Now look at Keke Palmer. Same thing. Keke Palmer accused Darius Jackson of abuse. And then look what was happening behind closed doors. She has footage of her in her house with him, putting hands on her on multiple occasions.
Right.
Doing the same type of shit. So it's like, we shouldn't have to, wait until we see something, wild, something wild and tangible for us to actually give, these girls, the fucking support that they need. That's what I'm saying. Like, if it didn't add up to me and it wasn't as detailed as it was, then I would be exactly same as you, like, neutral. I'm not gonna, jump to any conclusions. He's innocent until he's proven guilty. But based off of everything that I read, it's like, how do you even make that up? How do you make something like that up? There's no making this shit up because I know these things happen to people all the fucking time.
Right.
And
Right.
if I'm somebody like that, I'm not saying I would, but I'm just putting myself in the rationale of his shoes and his position. If you're doing all of those things, who's gonna stop you? Legally, you're not, under any threat of danger, shit like that.
Right.
Physically, you're not. So what's stopping you from doing this shit? This is a guy who sexually harasses, other men in interviews and stuff like that, be doing mad weird shit, then, has a temper, clearly has a temper problem, because when he was all on the street with Michael J. Ferguson, he was threatening his life over a small misunderstanding. And then literally just as fast as it started, this shit ended, and then all of a sudden he's like, "Oh yeah, yo, I love you, man. Yo, I'm all about love, man. Yo, come to my party, man. Yo, it's all about love." And then like giving them like this card, and then you got to use that Joker card to get in. And there's probably a whole bunch of wild shit going on at those parties and shit. Devin Haney talking about, "Oh, you got to be in to go to Diddy swimming pool parties and shit." So that's what I'm saying. So this guy who is super freaking, again, like compared to the average person, money, power. All right. What has mad freaking, sexual fantasies and all that shit. Then you get with a little baddie. Once smashing her by yourself is getting old, you start to make her do a whole bunch of shit so that way you stay interested. She signed to your record label. So, you know what I'm saying? You have control of her career. You receive all her medical records. Why? Because you pay for her house, you pay for her food, you pay for her fucking clothes. You are in control of this whole entire girl's life. You do not think that she became the object of his abuse and aggression and violence over time? And
Yeah,
this is a literal question. I want you to answer that question. Do you not think, like, on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely do you think all of that shit is? What I just said, and then everything I read in the New York Times article.
I believe, first of all, I believe everything she said. I do believe everything she said, right?
And then based off of what you heard about Diddy from either he himself or stuff that you've seen on Instagram, TikTok, whatever, like, don't you think that this shit is pretty possible?
This is the thing, right? And this is why I say this industry blurs the line so much, because in one hand, first of all, I do believe her, right? I actually do believe her, right? But again, I hear these stories happen all the time, and a lot of times it's revenge. People get mad because their careers tanked, the person they was with. Because some people might look at it like, yo, he was paying her bills and all this stuff. She had nothing to care about. She was chilling. You know what I'm saying? But that's the line that gets blurred, because, and the reason why I'm saying this is not because I'm saying she's lying. I'm saying this because his lawyers, his attorneys are going to argue this. Oh, why didn't you leave? Oh, why did you let him pay all your bills and stuff? Did you enjoy the private?
Yeah, they're going to play the game. They're going to play the game because he's paying them hundreds of thousands of dollars to do it. They're going to do what they got to do to make her look stupid in court and to try to make it seem like this is some baseless claim and all of that, because he's got the money to do that. But we're talking about not like legal jargon and all that shit. I'm just talking about from a moral aspect. All right. I believe her. And I think now, I think it's just to the benefit of everybody that shit like this gets exposed. Because how would you feel like if you became an actor and all that shit, but in order for you to sustain your career, they told you that you got to go to Diddy's house and spend a week there, and then you have to engage in a whole bunch of sexual acts that you don't want to? How would you feel?
I wouldn't do it.
That's what I'm saying. But a lot of motherfuckers feel like they got to do it. So if this shit will make him stop doing whatever the fuck he's doing, then so be it.
I to that point, it was funny. I was talking to my one of my buddy's grandfather. I was visiting him in a hospital last week, and he made this good point. He said, we was talking about acting and all that stuff, and he was talking about forks in the road. And he was talking about, every choice we make in life, it leads to a different fork. And we always hit a crossroads, right? And that's the thing. See, for me, and I'm not criticizing anybody because, I get it. Wanting to succeed in this line of work, some people will do any and everything to achieve that. And I'm not knocking them. Me personally, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't sell myself short. I have my morals and the things I stand on, and I wouldn't do that. But I also know there's certain people that will do any and everything to get to that point. And this is the reason why I pointed out the Amber Heard and Johnny Depp trial is not because I'm not comparing Johnny Depp to Diddy, but what happened with that case was a woman who was scorned, and she used private details to make him look like the bad guy. When it turned out she was doing worse, crapping on the bed.
Yeah, like Jonathan Majors.
Yeah,
all right, like Jonathan Majors situation.
Right.
Same thing.
Right, and the reason why, like I said, I do believe a lot of things she's saying, and I hope she wins. I'm just lining on the side of the middle because, like I said, I'll bring this up actually. So at my old job in LA at the gym, I used to meet people who were into the entertainment industry. And one guy in particular, I won't mention his name, but I remember I was cool. I'm still cool with him. I still talk to him once in a while, but he was invited to a lot of celebrity parties because he had the ends and he knew people. And he told me about these stories at the, pool houses and these private mansions that people owned or rented. And he told me about these parties, and he showed me videos of him partying with certain celebrities. I won't mention them because I'm not here to, put anybody in the light. But he showed me videos and stuff like that. And he told me like these people do crazy stuff that we don't know about.
Facts.
And obviously he didn't record everything. But
so doesn't that lend legitimacy and credence to everything that Cassie said? Knowing that
but here's the thing though. A lot of those, he was telling me like a lot of people come to these parties in the hopes of pursuing a career or getting a leg up. And the reason why I reiterate the point of this industry blurs the line is not because I'm saying he's innocent. I'm not. But what I'm saying is when it comes to certain celebrities, when they have power and fame, P. Diddy can do wonders for someone's career. And obviously I know what comes with that. A lot of these people, when you have power and money, you tend to know how to play the game and use your power and influence for negativity. But on the flip side, we also know people use that to their advantage. Some people will use that. P. Diddy might enjoy orgies, for instance. I don't know if that's true, but he might enjoy orgies and BDSM and tying girls up for sexual gratification. Some people might look at that and say, yeah, I'll do it. And if he offered me a contract, absolutely, I will do it. And that's why I said the lines get blurred in this industry so much, because on one hand, we do have people who come out with these allegations and they can 100% be true. But when we look at these court cases time and time again, these headlines that come out, a lot of times it's people scorned or they mad, something go right.
Well, that's not, but I don't believe that that's Cassie. And I'm gonna further back that up with what Aubrey said, she was the, I guess we can call her the lead singer of, Danny Decane. So This is from vulture.com, and it says former Danny Decane member Aubrey O'Day has reacted to Cassie's lawsuit accusing Diddy of rape and years of abuse, which he has denied. She doesn't seem too surprised by the allegations, saying on Twitter, "I stay trying to tell y'all." On her Instagram story, she shares screenshots of reports about the lawsuit, noting that she has been attempting to tell us about Diddy for years. She also tagged Cassie, writing prayers up for this queen. O'Day later reiterated her full support of Cassie in a statement to Rolling Stone. She said, "It isn't easy to take on one of the most powerful people in this industry and be honest about your experience with them. I know what her heart is feeling right now because I have done so as well." The statement reads, "May her voice bring all the others to the table so we can start having more transparent conversations about what is actually happening behind the scenes." She feels the same way that I feel. There's a lot more to all of our stories. And it says that, So it says Diddy formed Danny Decane on MTV's Making the Band in 2005. O'Day was removed from the group in 2008, though she later returned in 2013. But I think at that time they were not signed to Bad Boy, just to give y'all context.
I don't think so. Yeah.
No, they weren't. Because he dropped them for Bad Boy. So she returned to the group and then they did their thing on their own. She said she previously alleged in a December 2022 episode of the Call Her Daddy podcast that Diddy fired her because she wasn't willing to do what was expected of her, quote unquote. Now, here's what I mean by that. Or here's what she meant by that, because I've seen the show a million times. So basically Diddy and Aubrey, because I would say out of everybody in Danny Decane, she had the most like natural sex appeal, which is why she was like the front, the lead singer pretty much. Or she was like the face of the group. or like, you know what I mean, like the front face. She was the front person. And they would constantly have like a back and forth. Like out of all the members, he would constantly like get into it with her. And I always felt like there was some sort of like tension there. I don't know. I couldn't really say what it was, but he would always be like, yeah, like you're trying to look like Pamela Anderson. I didn't hire Pamela Anderson. And so basically it's like he was always either praising her or on the other opposite side of the spectrum, like basically blasting her and calling her a hoe in front of everybody, just to give you a context. And she said she wasn't willing to do what was expected of her, not talent-wise, but in other areas. She said in seeming reference to sexual favors. O'Day also claimed in an interview this year that Diddy had offered to return rights to Danny DeCane's music if she signed a non-disclosure agreement agreeing to never publicly disparage the rapper or his bad boy label. O'Day, who said she personally encouraged every member not to take the deal, reposted an Instagram story today suggesting that the NDAs were meant to keep Diddy's artists quiet. So you see what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
this is what other people are going through, even when they're not. So you don't have to be in a personal relationship or romantic relationship with him in order to be in his sphere of control that he really, like exercises on people. So that's what I'm saying. So not only do you have Cassie saying this, but you have somebody else who's saying it. So how would you feel if I was your, saying like your the CEO of your record label and stuff, and then I'm telling you, yeah, like, all right, so basically you sign to my record label. You do one album, and I'm talking about Day 26. So you do one album that sells 300,000 copies, okay, which is just enough for you to get a second album. And then your second album only does like 140,000, okay? Then after that, I pretty much drop you from the record label, and you don't have any percentage or any rights to your music whatsoever. You didn't really make a lot of money, up under me anyway. If anything, I made all the money. You know what I'm saying? And then I tell you X amount of years later, yeah, I'll give you back your rights, but you can never tell people that you didn't really benefit from being signed to me. How would you feel? That's like, damn, so yeah. I can get the money to my rights, but then I can't be honest about what my experience was as an artist under Bad Boy.
Yep.
Now, again, I'm saying in terms of as far as that's concerned, business is business. Like Diddy is just being a businessman, just like Berry Gordy was with Motown back in the day. He's not doing anything that hasn't already been done before him. So Diddy is not the first of his kind. But what I'm saying is this just lends more credence to what was said about him in the first place. Right. What we've heard about this guy, period. I still respect Diddy. Again, being a billionaire and all that, you know what I'm saying? But again, wrong is wrong. I'm not going to let my respect, get in the way or cloud my judgment of somebody who is a freaking domestic abuser behind freaking closed doors. Especially if you're somebody that you either have female friends, your mother, or you got women in your life. It's like, what if they were going through some shit like that? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, oh, like he's beating the shit out of her. Like, because this is what happens and what's love got to do with it. The very first time that Lawrence Fishburne puts hands on Angela Bassett in the movie, you know what his character does? So he throws her in the fucking room after he's done beating her ass. And then he tells her, yeah, you can't go anywhere. And then he comes back later with like a gift or some shit. Like, while she's like all bloodied up, sleeping in the damn bed because she couldn't go no freaking where. And then she wakes up to, I don't even know what the fucking gift was, but it was some shit that he left for her. Just so she wouldn't leave after that. This is what I'm saying. Like, art imitates life. These things come from somewhere. Like you said, Harvey Weinstein, years ago, he was doing all that shit behind closed doors. But these rumors were going around prior to that. So it wasn't like when whoever the main accuser was came out and said shit, we were already hearing things about him before that. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I know, like, yeah, you get guilty and proven innocent, but it's like, if you got somebody who has a track record, a bad track record, it's like, of course, you're going to lean towards him being a culprit or guilty because look at his track record. We're not talking about a Jonathan Majors where, as far as we know, Jonathan Majors is a good guy. He was just in a situation. And clearly the court of law has now found out that he is not, the freaking abuser, that old girl tried to say that she was, whatever, Grace Jabari or some shit. You know what I'm saying? That wasn't true, right? In a court of law, they go based off of what your track record is, and then that's how they choose to proceed based on what your previous track record is. We're not talking about a guy who is just squeaky clean. You never said anything. In fact, people were saying that he was the one. He had something to do with killing Tupac. Come on, man.
Oh yeah, I heard.
That's what I'm saying. So this is a guy who flavor camps. Usher had to, when Usher was 12 years old, he had to spend freaking a whole week at Diddy's house. And then Usher looked nervous when he's talking about the shit. Like, oh man, I saw some things at Diddy's house. You know what I'm saying? Right. And then you got Justin Bieber. That I seen that video like a couple years ago. Now it's starting to resurface now. The same thing. He's sleeping at Justin Bieber's house. I mean, Justin Bieber's sleeping at his house for a week. Why? But that's what I'm saying. So we have to connect all the dots. Like, I know you want to kind of play the fence and all that shit, but we have to call a spade a spade. And if these are the things that is going on, I hope some justice is served after that. And then the entertainment industry could, face some reform in a sense that these people, these gatekeepers and stuff like that, they don't feel as untouchable, or they feel that even though despite their power, there is consequences down the line if you do shit like that. That's what I'm saying. Somebody has to do it. And if anybody's going to do it, it's going to be Cassie, who was dealing with that shit for like 15 freaking years and shit. Right. Come on, man. That's what I'm saying. So it's for the benefit of everybody. And Aubrey said that shit. So maybe with this happening, the more people will decide to come forward. And imagine if like R. Kelly was doing all that shit and like he was still out here peeing on little girls and stuff.
Yeah. And
that's what I'm saying. And mind you, before Surviving R. Kelly, was a thing, we were already hearing about that shit for years before that shit. They were making Boondocks episodes about R. Kelly. So that's what I'm saying. But in this case scenario, this is a little bit more like, freaking evil what he was doing to her. Because I would never do some shit like that, to a girl. Oh, yeah, I'm going to beat her up and then I'm going to put her up in the room so she can't go nowhere. And then, like, if she tries to leave, all right, I'm going to send my personal assistant to go and talk to her. Be like, oh, Cassie, what are you doing? Come on. He loves you. Here's $50,000. Go on a shopping spree. Stay. Oh, come on. Like, nigga, that's what happened.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Like, what I was watching? I've been watching Twilight, like the Twilight movies and shit. And then what happens in the movie? Like, so basically one of like the vampire girls, not Bella, but like the other one, she was talking about her past and how before she became a vampire, how she was, human, and she met this guy, this freaking charming, successful businessman guy, all of that shit, charmed her pants off and stuff. They had a whole, relationship up until, she was out and she ran into him and her and his friends. And then basically, he forced her to have a train ran on her by him and his friends. They were all drunk and all that shit. Mind you, that was his girl. And then he was like, oh, wouldn't she look nice with her clothes off, right? And then she tried to leave. Raped her. Art imitates life. Those types of guys, they do that type of shit to women. That's what I'm saying. No amount of money is going to make me respect a guy that does all of that shit behind closed doors. Absolutely fucking not. I refuse to play the fence on that type of shit because you know why people don't want to say anything? Because it's Diddy and he's a mafia mob boss and shit. And he's the one that, again, has a good chunk of power in the entertainment industry. And I get it. Because I always looked at it like this. If people don't like how shit is, you're going to kind of have to find your way in it until shit changes. And now is the time where shit like that can change, where people will be like, all right, I know I'm a gatekeeper and I know I could probably do this, but I won't because I know how it's going to affect me down the line, so I won't do it. That's how it is. That's how it's like a club. It's like, all right, if you want to get down with my shit, this is what you got to do to get down with it. And there's nothing you can do about it until, again, like if you're the one who changes it or somebody else down the line, comes out and changes it. That's how it is. We might have Tupac. Tupac might still be here if he was the one. If really he was the one that did it.
What was that phrase I used to hear? Do you want to be a star? Back then, 2005, that era, even before then, the horror stories I've heard, that's how, R. Kelly, Harvey Weinstein, all these people thrived back then, because back then it was a whole different ball game.
Casting couch.
I think casting couch, and I think now we're living in a society where that we're starting to really change the game, and rightfully so. I hope this case, like I said, I do for me, I don't want people thinking I'm defending him in any way because I'm not. I'm just more looking at his defense attorneys and some of the other
Well,
people who might.
here's the thing though. Let his defense attorneys do that. Let them do that. You don't have
Yeah.
to do that. That's not your job. Your job is to give your unadulterated, unbiased thoughts. Because what's funny, they're only doing that because that's their job. That's probably not even how they really feel. I don't know if you've seen
Right.
Power, but Method Man, he's a super powerful attorney and all that. He works with nothing but guilty people and murderers and drug dealers. But his job is to make them innocent by any means freaking necessary. That's their job. What we're talking about is right and wrong. Because if this was just like, oh, he used to beat me up back in the day, 2018, and she didn't have no receipts. And I'd be like, well, I mean, it has been many years since then, and there is no receipts, or her account of what happened back in the day is just basic, 1, 2, 3, and you know what I'm saying. But what she said, I was running all those scenarios in my head, and I was like, yeah, it adds up, it checks out. Like I said earlier, girls go to Dubai and they're dealing with these oil tycoon, Abu Dhabi, Arab millionaires and shit. You know what I'm saying? Agrabah, all of that, getting shitted on, pissed on because these guys, that's what they do. That's what they do. And Diddy's in that same tax bracket. And I know just getting some girl, laying up with her, I'm pretty sure it gets old. It's gotten old for him probably in 1998. It probably got old for him. And then he had to start switching it up since then. That's how it is. He's not the only one. He's not the only one.
And that's
and it does make him a bad person. That sometimes I'll be like, oh, it does make him a fucking terrible person. It makes him a horrible human being. If that's what you're doing. If that's what you're doing to people.
Well, I would say this because I'm not quick to I only say that because I know people I went to school with. I know this one girl in particular. She was into that type of stuff. So people are into that. That's why I'm. That's why I'm
so people are into getting beat up, getting pumped up.
Oh no,
shit like
not
that.
that.
And then when he falls asleep, and then you try to leave, and then in this 5-star hotel, probably somewhere in New York, and then he's chasing after you, throwing glass at you and shit like that to get you to come back. Like that's not like, come on, man. Like there's no way that like I can read all of that and then I'm going to play the fence. And I'm not saying you are, but I'm just saying me.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna play the fence or side with the guy in no way, shape, or form. Period.
No,
like, I refuse to do it. This is why, like I said, I can respect the fact that you're successful. But my respect for Diddy has nothing to do with who he is. Like I can say, like somebody like Will Smith, for instance, I respect Will Smith for who he actually is.
Right.
I respect Denzel, Sam Jackson for who they actually are, how they speak, how they conduct themselves, and most importantly, how they treat people and what people have to say about them. This dude, Diddy, when was the last time I heard somebody say anything good about him? When? I can't even tell you when the last, because every time I hear about this guy, it's always something bad. What if that was me? And I'm on Power and all that shit. This nigga walks up to me in a costume I don't recognize. He all up on me. I'm like, yo, get the fuck away from me. Then this dude is threatening my life because of a small misunderstanding. That's when I was like, yo, yeah, this nigga's really on some my boss shit type shit. You know what I'm saying? And like, it all checks out. It all checks out. So if I'm the jury, I'm gonna be, every time he opens his mouth, I'm gonna have my arms crossed. Like, what can you possibly say to make me think that what she's saying is not true? Because you know what's funny? You know that hairstyle that Cassie used to have, where it was like half her head was shaved, and then the other half was. You know, they said that's because he beat her so bad, and then he pulled her hair out, and then she just had to do it like that because if she didn't, then people would have saw what happened.
Yeah.
You see? People thought it was just this revolutionary hairstyle, but look what it probably was behind closed doors.
Yeah, and for me, this is why I'm just saying evidence is going to be key because a lot of people are going to look at these stories and say, Diddy deserves to be locked up, solitary confinement, throw away the key. But let me clarify something. When I said people into that, I meant there are people out there, not the beating and stuff like that. Although I'm sure there are people who enjoy that type of sexual thing, but there are people who are interested in getting peed on and all that stuff. Trust me, I've met a few. And that's why people have some weird sexual fantasies, and when you have that type of money, I'm pretty sure some of them have those type of fantasies. And this is a wake up call for anybody, and P Diddy situation, or anybody who's trying
Men
to
and
pursue a
women.
career in the entertainment industry, because that type of behavior is something that's been long. That's been a tradition in the industry. That
Yeah.
casting couch, taking all types of abuse and all that stuff just to be a star. And I really hope that she prevails. But all I was saying about the evidence was it's going to come down, because some people might be disgusted by his sexual preferences and what he does in his bedroom, but there are people out there who enjoys that, and it's going to come down to who's going to have the evidence, who's going to have video, photos, whatever, because really that's going to come down to it. But again, I do believe what she's saying, mostly because I've seen who she is as a person. I've never heard anything bad about her. I've never heard her smear anybody's name. I've never heard her
Yeah,
file a
she's low
lawsuit against
key.
him. Yeah, she a low key person, and the reason why I was going in the middle ground mostly, and I'll be transparent about it. I've said this on my podcast. When we're both in the entertainment industry, right, and we have to be careful of the stuff we say, not because I'm a fear of speaking my truth or speaking my true opinion, but there are people who might listen to us that might look at us in a different way. Be like, oh, I can't have this person on this project. I can't have this person.
Why? Because I don't condone abuse. Because I think beating up a girl and then keeping her in the hospital is wrong. See, let's really talk about that.
Yeah, yeah.
Because what the fuck are we even really saying? What the fuck am I saying about him that would make some other motherfuckers go, oh, well, I don't want to work with him? Well, what the fuck did I say? I could understand if I said, yo, well, hey, I think Diddy's cool, and hey, if she didn't like it, then she should have fucking left. That's when you say, all right, don't rock with him because he's somebody that condones abuse. In fact, I'm taking the opposite stance. I'm saying, yo, if that's what he was doing, he's wrong. And I think the industry should fucking change because she was fucking signed to him. There should be some fucking parameters to how people, you know what I'm saying? Like these producers, directors, whatever the fuck, they deal with the fucking talent, the fucking creatives. So if anything, I'm trying to be a fucking harbinger of fucking change. I'm a supporter of fucking change, some fucking reform. I'm saying just because you want to be a part of somebody's fucking project does not mean that they have license to treat you any fucking kind of fucking way.
Absolutely.
So I'm not afraid of some bitch ass motherfucker saying, oh, I don't want to work with him. Why? Because they sucking Diddy's dick behind fucking closed doors or some shit. That's what I'm saying. Like, because I'm my own fucking man and I stand 10 toes down on what I believe in as long as I have the fucking moral high ground. I don't give a fuck about somebody fucking not wanting to work with me just because I say some shit that they don't fucking agree with. Fuck them. I don't give a fuck because I stand on my own integrity and fucking morals. I don't give a fuck. Like, because the thing is, I'm not gonna sell my soul just to be a part of somebody's shit. Like the whole idea of that, literally just pisses me the fuck off. And the fact that we live in a fucking society, especially like people who want to be actors, singers, rappers, whatever the fuck, and then you got to be down with some dumbass fucking shit just for you to try to fucking live your dreams and your fucking aspirations. What the fuck are we even really saying? Yeah. Shit, it's like none of these motherfucking gatekeeper ass niggas scare me at all. Fuck that. Because me, regardless of any fucking thing, it's like if you want to be an actor, you want to be a rapper, you want to make music and shit like that, do just fucking that. No one particular person holds the keys to your fucking success. Even if somebody says, I rock with Diddy so much that the fact that this nigga says he doesn't condone abuse means that I don't want to work with him, then fuck him. Legit. I'm the motherfucking leader, not him. I don't give a like that's what I'm saying. Like, not only does everybody have to have that own type of fucking mentality, but people have to stand for what the fuck they believe in. Because if you're operating and living in a system that is fucking wrong and you're too scared to say some shit about it because then you can't advance your own career, then that's why shit will always stay the fucking same. Because just like you said, you are always going to reach a point where you're at the fork in the road. You're an actor, you're a fucking entertainer, whatever, that fork in the road is going to happen. You're always going to come, you are guaranteed to come to a point where somebody is going to dangle some shit in front of you, but what you have to do to get that shit is going to compromise your morals. And then you have to be able to stand on the ground that you fucking stand on 10 toes and shit and say, no, I'm not fucking doing that shit. Doesn't matter what you think about me or whatever. I'm still gonna do me regardless and do what the fuck I love, we're fucking regardless, because that's what it's about. It's like, what are you willing to do to get to what the fuck you want to get to? But me, I'm not gonna fucking align myself with people that are fucking sex traffickers, domestic fucking abusers, all this other types of shit. I don't give a fuck. You see what I'm saying? Like that shit. Honestly, like I'm not saying you, but just the idea that it's like fucking censorship. What the fuck am I saying? What the, like? And like I said, I hope motherfuckers hear this shit years later. What the fuck am I saying? What am I saying? What? Huh? Like if I understand. Like you get in trouble, people don't want to work with you if you condone this shit. If you fucking condone it, why would I want to work with you anyway? If that's the type of shit that you rock with. This should be a fucking industry that is built on fucking righteousness and shit. It's about the fucking art. It's not about all that dumb shit, you know, saying that people do behind fucking closed doors. I don't give a fuck. Who are these people? You take the money away from them. Who the fuck are they? Regular ass people. Regular ass people. It's like you are in charge of your life. You are in charge of your fucking career only if you recognize that shit and you seize it for yourself. You don't put that shit in somebody else's hands. It's if you said like, let's say, like, what is some shit that we talked about that like we were both on the same page about? I'm just trying to think of a fucking quick thing. I can't fucking think of the shit, but you get the point that I'm fucking making. Just because you say some shit that somebody else doesn't fucking agree with, if what you're saying is right, what does that say about them if they chose not to work with you because you stood on the right side?
Right.
What does that say about them? Do you really want to work with people like that? Like really? Like people, you should be able to just walk away with your integrity and your morals. Say, well, you know what? I didn't compromise myself, because sometimes compromising yourself is working with somebody that you know is fucking wrong.
Yeah.
So that's what the conversation has to fucking be. This shit has to fucking change. Fuck them. Fuck the, like that's because you know what's funny? It's like I'm glad that like my come up is coming at this point in my life right now, because if I was a lot younger, I would give a fuck about that type of shit. Me right now, I don't give a fuck about any of that shit, because none of these people anyway are where were they when I was struggling and shit like that? Were they helping me? No. So again, like people like that, everybody that I work with will be on the right side. We'll be on the right side. Anti-abuse, anti-violence, anti-sex trafficking, all sorts of types of shit, anti-censorship. There's nothing about functioning in a world where you can't say what you want to say, as long as it's the right thing, or saying the right thing will get you in trouble down the line. It's fucking enraging. It incenses me that literally you can't say the right fucking thing, and people will just be like, "Oh, I don't want to work with him because you know he said Diddy was wrong." Well, what the fuck was Diddy doing? So you see why I said all that shit.
Yeah,
that's why I'm angry, because you feel me.
Yeah. Oh no, 100%, 100%. And you're right. And it's sad that we have to take that stance. And you know, this is why I said this is a wake up call.
Wait, what's sad?
Oh, it's sad that we can't speak our truths without.
We can, but here's the thing though. We can. It's like your voice is very powerful, and when you allow somebody to limit your voice, what you can and cannot say, you are no longer powerful anymore. You have relinquished your power at that point. When you say I cannot say what I'm supposed to say, or the right, I cannot use my voice for good because of somebody else. I refuse to do that. Right is right, wrong is wrong. Okay. Freaking Joe Rogan, one of our like when the quick takes really started to get, you know what I'm saying, into what it is today. We talked about that shit. What did I say? I said Joe Rogan should not use the word nigga or nigger like he was saying. He should not use the shit. I don't give a fuck if he's this, you know, famous white guy podcast or whatnot. What does that have to do with me? Wrong is fucking wrong. Even my favorite YouTuber or Twitch streamer, whatever he is now, low tier god, he considers himself to be a quote unquote new age black. So he doesn't care if non-black people use the word nigga. But even he said that nigger is different. That's some shit you don't say. That's out of bounds, right? So I'd be wrong because I said I don't want a white guy to use a racial slur, especially the historical context of that fucking slur.
No, you
But
wouldn't be wrong.
I'm wrong though, right? So I'd be wrong. The Academy Awards shouldn't invite me or whatever the fuck because I said that Angela Bassett was snubbed. Everybody fucking said that shit. Everybody felt that fucking way.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. It's like the quick takes is all about giving an alternative perspective that people are not used to hearing, but also the right fucking thing. Because I'm not going to engage in any sort of chess match, any sort of conflict with anybody unless I have the moral fucking high ground. Then I'm going to be able to combat that shit. So somebody's like, yeah, oh well, well, I have the moral high ground. I can combat that. I can counteract everything that you're saying because I'm standing at a higher point than you do. So it makes sense. I don't want to be a part of a fucking system that I can't be me. That's selling your soul. I can't be me. I can't be who the fuck I know I am deep down inside in my core because of a fucking role and shit like that. So then my life is literally dedicated to me being other people, and then not once can I be myself.
Yeah,
that's wrong, and that's what I said. Like, as it is right now, yeah, like, you know, certain people are in charge and certain things are a certain way, and to reach a certain level of success, you're probably gonna have to rub shoulders and do certain fucking things. And there's nothing you can do to change it until it starts changing. And when I start to see that, I'm gonna at least support it and lend my voice to that. At least, because I'm not gonna be like, oh well, you know, gee, I don't want to say that because, you know, Kevin Feige might not want to work with me. You know, what the fuck is that? Like, what the fuck is that? And that's not, no matter, and this is why people say money doesn't buy success. This is why you see people at these high levels of success, all money and all that shit. These motherfuckers are miserable because they've compromised themselves, and then they can't speak it because they've relinquished their voices to people who don't even value them at the end of the fucking day. Because just like how they give you a role, they can just take that role and give it to somebody else. And that's the same thing as a 9-to-5. There's no freedom in that. There's no freedom in that. Just like how there was no freedom in Cassie's relationship with Diddy. No freedom, no privacy, no power, no nothing. And it's just now that she's deciding to say, all right, you know what? I think I have enough. I've gotten back to myself enough as to where I could, you know, wage war on this guy now. Finally. And I support that. Yeah. But you have to really ask yourself, like, what are you willing to compromise in order to get that fucking role? And then you have to really ask yourself, is this role worth compromising who I am? Because selling your soul is not what people think it is. Not what people think it is. It's not like, all right, yeah, you sign on that a lot. Like, no, it's not that. It's literally not that. It's you compromise. You're just doing something that is against your own, because everybody still has a soul, but you're compromising yourself. So then when you start to look in the mirror, you're not happy with what you see anymore. Because you've allowed somebody else, another human being that bleeds just like you, is going to die just like you, to fucking dictate the way that you live your life. And that's wrong. That's wrong. So you have to recognize, bro, like, you are powerful within yourself. If you deep down inside, if you know, yo, this person is wrong, then say that they're wrong. You can't say, you cannot be like, damn, man, like, I don't want to say that because maybe somebody will hear this down the line and I won't get the role. Dude, are those the type of people that you want to work with?
No, it's more so the lines of,
because but honestly, really, have we ever said anything on a quick take that is like, oh my gosh, so outlandish, like, oh man, like they might not even work with me? What have we said? What have I said on there?
No, but it's not that. It's also too, you also got to remember too, this, in terms like this subject too, when we're talking about people who sleep around in the industry for the opportunity and people who don't, right? This that line, right? So let's say hypothetically, right? Let's say our manager is like, yo, Dimitri, you're affecting you know, my business. You know, I send you out to auditions. I'm hearing all this stuff that people watching your quick takes, and you know, I can't have you as a client if you're gonna keep doing this stuff. Would you? That's a fork in the road, right? I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying, as a hypothetical, some things I will talk about. For instance, R. Kelly, right? Because I know he's guilty as hell, and we all know he's in prison. I have no problem with that. It's just, for me, when it comes to stuff like this, the problem for me sometimes is we often say people are innocent to proven guilty, but they're really not. Like Jonathan Majors was innocent. Everybody thought he was guilty for the most part. Besides, like you and me, most people thought he was guilty. Throw him away. His career's over. We don't need him no more, right? Same thing with Johnny Depp. Everybody thought he was guilty. He deserved to be locked up, career thrown in the trash, whatever. And then it comes out that the opposite happened, right? And that's why I said that's why I said I do support her, and I do agree with a lot of things she said, and I hope she prevails. I just don't want to make a judgment too quick until all the facts come out, because this could all blow up in our faces, and it could be that she's hypothetically, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but it could come out that she's just scorned and whatever. But it could also come out that she's telling the truth and he deserves to be locked up with R. Kelly, and that's the bottom line. So the reason why I said that is just mostly because he's technically innocent to proven guilty, even though in our minds he's guilty. But just for the sake of being erring on the side of caution, which I've done before, and I've came out publicly in my opinion, and I was completely wrong. I would just play the safe side and say, hey, I don't like him that much. He's not my type of people. First of all, I don't really care. Never really thought of hanging out with him. Until more facts come out and stuff come out, I will then say, all right, yeah, he's guilty as charged, because that's how it should be. If we live in a society where we're going to start labeling people guilty just because we believe the other person more credible, well, it doesn't always work that way sometimes. That's what I was saying mostly. Mm. But yeah, this is one of the things, I like I said before, I have principles that I stand on, and I will always advocate for people to have the human rights, their dignity and respect. Mm-hmm. And this is no way, I don't want people taking away that I'm just, I'm either I'm saying he's not innocent and she's lying. I'm not doing that. I actually do side with her on this. I'm just, like I said, we tend to, as a society, like right now, I'm going on Twitter and I see everybody saying Diddy is a pervert. He deserves to be rotten in jail and all that stuff. And they could 100% be right. But the public, we sometimes we rush to judgment too much, and it happens all the time. Like I said, Jonathan Majors, Johnny Depp, there's plenty of other Tyrese. How many people call Tyrese all types of names over the years for his videos that he made online, and it turns out there was an actual reason. So that's why
because I've always supported Tyrese on this channel.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like we talked about Tyrese earlier this year. So no, go ahead.
Yeah, but that's why I said, like, what we do is important, because we talk about these subjects, and generally, yeah, you might have an opinion and you'll voice it, but generally we talk about this stuff, and that's what I'm trying to do. I don't want this whole quick take to be, oh, Diddy is a bad person, he's this and that, he's guilty, because I don't want to have to, like I said, we've already had those people, the Jonathan Majors and other people, countless people who everybody slandered, even the news. Oh, he a thug, criminal guy, he deserves it. And then it turns out that it's actually not that case. So but with that being said too, like you said, this is the fork in the road, and this is a wake-up call to people trying to pursue a career in this business. Because one thing I will say, I do agree with you. Everything does need to change in this regard, right? You was talking about how, if you're a director or a CEO or something of an artist or actor or whatever the case may be, there should be some rules and regulations with that, right? And I 100% agree with you. And I think one of the problems we have is human beings, right? We might feel that way, but there's going to be other people who keep doing the exact opposite we're fighting for, right? For instance, the SAG strike. People, the union was telling people not to do Halloween, for instance, right? Don't dress up as famous movie characters. Mm-hmm. And yet we still have people going on Instagram sticking it to SAG. And I'm not talking about just average people. I'm talking about celebrities going on Instagram and shooting shots at SAG. Oh, I'm not going to follow your rules. How will you expect anything to change if people don't actually, everybody gets on board with this? And I think this is something that Nisa talked about. And people really need to realize, when you start blurring this line, and this is not about Cassie at all, but just in general, when you start blurring the lines of I will sleep with anybody to get an opportunity, then you give these people power to continue doing what they're doing. P. Diddy, for instance, because I'm sure he's done that. And a lot of people still do it to this day. And it's because they get that power because people still allow them to do that. And this is a problem that we, as not only people in the entertainment industry, but just as people, we need to get away from allowing these people to take our dignity and self-respect and using our bodies just because they have the power to do so.
Well, that's what that's what I told you. That's what I said. So essentially we are on the same page. But I also, yeah. But what I really want to drive home is that you shouldn't be at risk. And again, I said this like 30 times, but you shouldn't be at risk for standing for what's right, for saying the right thing. I forgot. I think I don't know who said it, but there's a quote. It's like when you see something happening, something wrong is going on, and you don't do anything, then you're just as culpable because you could have done something about it.
Absolutely.
You could have said something about it. So when I see these things, and again, Diddy is a black man, and you know me. If there was something that I could go off of where I could have at least given Diddy that or the benefit of the doubt, I would have. But what I was explaining earlier is the fact that there's not a lot for me to go off of for as far as his concern, coming to his defense. To me, there's just nothing there. You know what I'm saying? Of course, if I could have defended him, I would have. But there's nothing there.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And again, if wrong is wrong, then what does that say about the people that don't agree with me? What are their reasons for not agreeing with me? Then I won't associate myself with people who will clearly stand on the wrong side for personal gain. Because that's when you have people who are rich as fuck and miserable. It's because of things like this. It's because they've compromised, their deeper selves for $1, for sex, for whatever the fuck it is. And that's no way to live life. Just like I said earlier, the way that Cassie was living with him, that was no way to live. Unfortunately, she had to go through that for her to finally fucking realize that shit. Because that's just how life works. Life is going to teach you different things. So that's just one thing that I'm not worried about that shit, because every single quick take that we've done, which is about probably 70, upwards of 70, now, there's not anything that I've said that I feel like is or was on the wrong side to me. There's nothing I've ever said on this YouTube channel that was on the wrong side, other than maybe like, yeah, I agree with, Will Smith slapping Chris Rock. That was probably like the only thing, you know what I'm saying, that was on the wrong fucking side. But I haven't said anything that you know what I'm saying, that I think like, oh my gosh, even then, again, I feel like I'm on the right fucking side. And that's all that fucking matters. It's like in this case scenario, I'm the Jedi. I'm the Jedi. You see what I'm saying? And then the other side is a Sith. Who are you going to side with? Who are you going to side with? Because it's really like a philosophical thing anyway. These people think that they're on the right side, and they're just protecting what they know, which is a system that, again, in order for you to get a roll of some shit, in a big blockbuster project, you got to do something gay. And not that gay people are wrong, but then that's against who you are as a person. And what is it worth? You have to ask yourself, what is it worth? Is it worth me not speaking my mind? Is it worth me not standing up for what I believe is right? Like, really, let's talk about it. Like, everything that we've said about like police brutality, black people in this country, you don't think that there's like, white executives or some people like that who may not agree?
Oh,
right?
Sure, I'm sure.
But right is right. What are we even talking about? The human rights of black people in America? And you mean to tell me I'm wrong, and then I might not be given an opportunity that I clearly qualify for just because you don't want me to talk about that? Because and really look at it. There's not a lot of celebrities, like top tier celebrities, that talk about this shit. They don't.
No.
They don't. And I've always said it's because there are people that are cutting their checks that they don't want to offend because they want to keep things the way that they are. How many people knew Harvey Weinstein and probably knew that those things were going on and just didn't say anything? Mad people. Mad people. So let's just be, 100% critical of all parties involved. So what does that say about them? So that just further proves my point about selling your soul. You're just denying who you are deep down inside because for money, for some sort of monetary, tangible gain and stuff like that. And you do that for so long, you can't get it back because now you are one with this. You are one with that particular system. And if you step out of it, you are no longer going to be who you thought you were, because you've aligned your identity with a system that's not even real anyway. Because the entertainment industry is really just a social construct and a business at the end of the day. And again, like not every dollar is a good dollar. That's why they say blood money and shit like that. So that's what I want, like the grand scale for people who are still listening is like, don't compromise yourself for outside things. Because at the end of the day, you got to go to sleep with yourself at night. You got to brush your teeth, wash your face, and then look up at yourself in the mirror. And there's going to come a point where if you compromise yourself, you're not even going to recognize who's looking back at you because you've compromised yourself. You know what I'm saying? And there's nothing wrong with standing for what's right. And the thing is, the history in this country is that standing up for what's right will get you killed. Pretty much. We'll either get ostracized by the media and shit like that, and or killed. Because look what happened to Malcolm X. See what I'm saying? Look what happened to Prince. Prince was the one since the 90s. He was the one that was trying to fight against record labels. He was the one that did that, even if it meant meaning that he can't call himself his own fucking name, which was Prince, but he was trying to stand up for what was right. Michael Jackson, same thing. He tried to be something much greater than just an artist. And literally he could have been that, but because he was stepping outside of, the parameters that they set for him, they made him look crazy. His career was never the same. The greatest entertainer of all time. So that's what history has shown. And when you have people that are operating from fear and from loss, people are never going to want to do anything, because then they're going to feel like, damn, like then my quality of life is going to decrease. I'm going to lose certain things. People are going to think I'm crazy. People are not going to think you're crazy if you're just on the right side. That's what I'm saying. Like it's like change the world type shit. Like seriously. That's no, go ahead.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, my fault. But yeah, I was gonna say I listen to Tupac often, and I love his music because of the message. Yeah, it's catchy, but his message is super important. And one of the biggest fears I have is that this conversation is gonna fall on deaf ears, meaning if we want change to happen, we gotta make change happen. And one of the things I said was the unfortunate thing is that we are human beings, and I think certain like these cases, P. Diddy, Harvey Weinstein, all these other people who are getting put in jail and sentence and actually being what's the word? Being held for what they've done. None of this stuff is going to change. You know why? Because this industry is based off, our society is based off money and power for most people. The dollar holds so much value to us that many people will still compromise their goals regardless. And that's why I said this conversation is much more than just Cassie and P. Diddy. This is for everybody, especially people who are trying to pursue a career in this business, is that people need to realize when you sell yourself short like this, you don't want to end up like a, I just in general, you don't want to end up like Cassie, 20 years later, understanding what you went through and the life you lived through and the hell you went through for what? And for what? And I think a lot of people do this stuff. And I honestly, a lot of times it's naiveness, which I can understand. Is I think she was 19, 20, 21 at this time. So I'm not going to hold her, some people might say she was legally, responsible for her own actions. But come on, you're 19 and so you got a major celebrity with lots of money influence coming at you. Mm-hmm. It's hard for them to make that judgment. So I would never hold that against them. But yeah, this industry needs to change. This whole, you have to sleep for the role. You have to do certain things for the role. That culture, I think, is starting to change. But again, this is why I said the lines get blurred and people need to stop buying into that culture of, I got to sleep around. I got to get to these parties and seduce this person, or I need to sleep with this person for this role or for this record label or for this opportunity. Because if they keep doing it, these people are going to keep doing what they're doing and nothing's going to change. But I hope, especially now, if P. Diddy goes down for what he did, if he's found guilty,
he probably won't.
No, probably. He's probably going to get
maybe face any jail time. He won't face any jail time. I'll tell you that much. He's got.
Yeah, he'll probably just pay. Yeah, he'll pay restitution and he'll be right back to where he is. And this is why. One thing I will agree with. I agree with you all the way to this point. But one thing I want to point out was, You said everybody who knew what Harvey Weinstein should be held responsible. Same thing in this situation. The bodyguards, the security guards, the
His
people around him.
assistants, they're all accomplices. They're all
Yeah,
accomplices to domestic violence. But that's what I'm saying. But these people, they're turning a blind eye, for some sort of monetary gain. They're operating from a place of fear and loss because people don't like to lose things. People don't like to be in fear. So in order to combat that, they're like, all right, let me just stay in line. Let me just stay in line. And here's really the other thing. You can't be afraid to walk away. You can't be afraid to walk away from shit that, again, like, is not for you, or things that's going to be hurting you, or things that's going to hurt you in the long run. I'm like, yeah, you might can get a check. You might get some benefits and perks from being with somebody or having this particular job or whatever. But then down the line, you're going to have to pay for that in some way, shape, or form. And then sometimes, again, the worst thing possible is when you look up in the mirror and you're not happy with what you see. No amount of characters that you play in films is going to, help the way that you feel about yourself, because that's what's most important. And most people, they don't have that because, again, they attach their identities to relationships, jobs, social circles, all sorts of types of shit that's really not for them. And again, like, you can't be afraid to walk away. Yeah, there's probably going to be some consequences, but again, like, are you gonna lose yourself in the process or lose some money? I'd rather lose some money than to lose myself, because when you lose yourself, it's way harder to find yourself again than to find a dollar. You can always get a dollar. You can create opportunity for yourself. Like, I'll give you an example. Like, I've been in the YouTube comments talking about The Last Dragon. It's like one of my favorite martial arts films. I think I probably mentioned this in a quick take before.
Oh, I know something. Yeah.
Yeah. And basically, he did the film. The budget was like $10 million. The film grossed like $33 million in the box office back in 1985. Berry Gordy offered, the lead actor, $60,000 to do the second film and $120,000 to do the third film. Now, granted, not me, I think it was a mistake in him turning it down. But if he felt like that, he would have been compromising himself or his own values for taking that deal or some shit like that, then fine. If you can live with it, you know what I'm saying? If you can live with walking away, he walked away from it. Now, granted, he never got an opportunity like that again in freaking Hollywood. And then he spent the rest of his, pretty much the rest of his life trying to get his acting career on track. And he was never able to. But again, walk away from it. If you feel deep down inside this is not for you, then you'll be able to live with the consequences. The fallout from walking away from it. Again, Cassie, she didn't walk away from Diddy because she was, again, like I said, operating from a place of fear and loss of her life, fear of, the threat of danger, all sorts of types of shit. You can't live like that. I couldn't, what kind of YouTube channel would this be, or what type of person would I be if I was operating my YouTube channel from a fear of loss or just fear in general? I get on here and then I just say what I think people want me to say, what I think people want to hear, what I think somebody down the line would want to hear from me. No, I just say what I feel is the right thing to say. And usually history shows that I was right, pretty much. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. In fact, when we were talking about Lori Harvey shit, I was defending Lori Harvey. Pretty much. I was saying it wasn't going to work out. And look what happened now. They just broke up last week. So I was right. Yeah, I even got on camera and I said, yeah, well, maybe Will Smith slapping Chris Rock might not have been the right thing to do in that particular moment, but I don't think that Chris Rock was 100% a freaking saint either. I don't think putting your hands on anybody unless you're in danger, like that person is a threat to your well-being, is okay. But trying to make fun of somebody on national TV about having alopecia, I don't think that's cool either. Right. And I raised the magnifying glass to that. So again, it's all about balance at the end of the day, and all about staying true to yourself. And again, like, I wouldn't want to be a part of a club that yeah, all right, they're giving me millions of dollars, but I gotta do stuff every day. I gotta do stuff every day that I don't want to do. That's like a 9 to 5. That's like a 9 to 5. It's like you work a job you don't like, and then you got to go to that job 40 hours a week. And you got to do stuff every day that you don't like. Every day I got to show up here and I just got to be somebody that I'm not. And then I do that, every day for the fucking next 10, 15, 20, 25 years, 30 years, and then call that a life. This is why you see people killing themselves. This is why you see people being abusers and all that shit, because they're truly not happy with themselves. No man that is happy with himself puts hands on women. Absolutely not.
I agree.
Diddy's probably the most miserable person ever. Probably. How am I this happy, positive person? I call myself love and all that shit, but then yet I got a woman of all people, my ex-girlfriend, coming out and saying I was doing all of this shit. In fact, in my last relationship, when I was treating my girl at my worst, I felt bad about myself. I wasn't happy with myself. That's why I was treating her like that, because I wasn't happy with myself. I wasn't. To be honest with you, I wasn't. And I was taking a lot of that shit out on her. So that's how it is. So you see, so Diddy, he himself is a victim of a system that he was a part of. And then now he's just perpetuating that same cycle. So when I see people attacking that, I'm like, yes, attack it, because that shit is wrong. If he's going to give Danny DeCane back the rights to their music and all that shit, so then maybe they can start making some money off of it. I mean, a little late, it's freaking 2023. They were artists in like 2007, 2008, but that shit shouldn't come at the expense of their voice. It's like, all right, yeah, I'm gonna give you some money, but give me your voice. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. What is it worth? You have to really ask yourself, is it worth this? And what does that say about him? Maybe because it happened to Diddy at some point. That's what they say. It's like, all right, people, it's like a cycle. So it's like somebody, uses and abuses you, and then you replace them for you to do the same to somebody else. And then it just happens again and again and again and again and again, until somebody comes out and attacks it and strengthen numbers. This is why Aubrey came out and said some shit and said support, because she was all up close and personal with him. And it's not like I'm saying Diddy was, and mind you, I'm even trying to speak for him in that sense to say that he might have been a victim of the system. If somebody were to hear this shit, it's like, well, yeah, you're a horrible person for physically abusing a woman. Would you want somebody like that to do it to your mom or some shit? If that's the case,
right.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's like I'm still on the right side. I'm always on the right side. I mean, I've grown to operate like that, where if I'm going to speak out, or if I'm going to argue with you, or if I'm going to debate whatever, I have to feel like I'm on the right side of the spectrum. So that way my words are supported by my morality. You get what I'm saying? So this is why things ultimately have to change, because the industry would actually be a more booming industry if it wasn't like that. They would make way more money if they would just give the jobs to people who are most, qualified, the most talented, the most skilled, instead of the one who slept with this person and that person.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Like it has to open up, out with the old, in with the new regime, because things change. You know what I'm saying? Things don't stay the same. Things might be similar, but things can't stay the same. Like think about it. Like I like to believe the way that Tupac was, back in the day, where he would speak out about, like, he wasn't just an artist. He wasn't just a rapper. That's why I think he was number one, because he stood for the things that he rapped about. He lived it.
Right.
And I feel like his voice is what got him killed. Because it wasn't some gangster shit that people would like you to believe that. It wasn't just that. It was something else. And that has to change. Malcolm X is not here because of that. That has to change. We can't keep living in a world where it's like you have to operate the way people want you to, and then if you don't, you're going to be broke, dead or in jail or insane or some shit. That's not right. So honestly, this was like a powerful conversation to have, because not only are we tackling, the subject of domestic abuse, but we're talking about staying true to yourself, really choosing between right and wrong, good and evil. And what side do you want to be on? Are you willing to be on the side of evil if it means you're $1 million richer? Sure, you could take the money, but now you're gonna go to sleep every night thinking, what? Like, yo, I shouldn't have taken that money, man. I shouldn't have taken that money. Fuck, can't sleep at night. Got demons coming at you now. Not actual external demons, but your own personal demons, which is your thoughts and shit. You go to brush your teeth. You look up in the mirror. You don't like what you see anymore, because you see somebody that was compromising their fucking morals for $1. I can't be that desperate for love that I'm willing to be with a woman that doesn't make me feel good about myself, just because I'm lonely or some shit. What the fuck is that? That's compromising yourself. You're selling your soul for love, intimacy, attention, companionship. What is it worth? Yep. Is it worth myself to get something else, and I lose myself in the process? Because again, I feel like I've lost myself, in the past before, and it was fucking hard to get that shit back. Trust me. It was hard as fuck. Real shit. So that's what I'm saying. So everybody, if you made it to this point, really think about that shit. Really think about that shit. And it makes you tell other people. Judge your
Yep.
choices, your life aspirations. What are you willing to tolerate? What are you willing to sacrifice and shit like that? Because again, like you can always be an actor. You know, whether you're freaking Black Adam or you're at your local theater and shit like that. That's what I'm saying. Because even me, I thought about, I was like, yo, like, this is it. Like, you just act. Just do this shit. And then if you're, how should I say, if like people know you more as a result of that shit, great. That's just a byproduct of you just doing what you love to do. So if you want to be an actor, fucking act. Just do the shit. Acting is not just being famous and all of that. Acting is you doing it. And you love what you do. You enjoy what you do. It means something to people. It's not just I'm famous and then they're letting me do this shit because I mean, like basically, but you get what I'm saying. You know, we can go on and on and on about this shit, but that's just the point, you know, that I'm just gonna say in conclusion. So, you know, but any final thoughts, bro?
Yeah, no, you hit it right on the head. Yeah, people really just think about who you are as a person and really embrace that. You know, don't compromise yourself, like you said. So many people have done it, and look what happened. They turn to drugs, they turn to alcohol or whatever dangerous vice that they develop, and never ends well. So, you know, don't sell yourself short. And I know, like I said, you know, it's easy to tell people to walk away when you're not in that position, but sometimes that's the best thing. Like Dimitri said, you can always act. You don't always have to be, just because you may not be Tom Cruise at the end of the day doesn't mean you can't be a star in your local production. You know, don't give up your morals and stuff just for $1. You know, because our society has made it so where you have to, you know, unless you have a certain amount of money or a certain amount of social presence, you're not important. That's not true. I don't care if you have one follower on Instagram or you have 500,000. Your voice is powerful and your morals is more important. And the one thing I will say too before we go, if you ever get a chance, listen to Tupac Changes. That's a song I started listening to during the pandemic. At
That's
least
just
once
the
a week I
way it
listen to it.
is.
Come on, that song really just take us with the songs for 4 minutes. Sit down for a minute, for 4 minutes, listen to that song, and really listen to what he says, because that song right there was before his generation. But I think it's time that people listen to that and really, you know, just reflect on themselves. And you know,
Rest in
I
peace,
agree with
Tupac.
everything else you said. Yeah,
Rest in
rest
peace,
in peace,
Tupac.
Tupac.
And also I'm gonna end it on this because apparently Kimora Lee Simmons, who I guess she's Russell Simmons' ex-wife or something like that, and I just googled her. She apparently had a relationship with Diddy's um uh old girlfriend. I don't think she was ever his wife, but Kim Porter. She's the mother of I guess a couple of Diddy's
Oh
kids,
yeah,
like that, and she mysteriously passed away. Anyway, she says, "As you sow, so shall you reap." So me, grand scale is just always make sure you treat people with respect. Always make sure that if you go your separate ways with people, people can always say that you treated them with respect. Watch what you do and how you move out here, because all of that is always going to come back around at some freaking point. Please, as always, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts, and I'll see y'all on the next one. Peace.
peace.